All right, everyone. Can I have a round of applause for Vintonic? Hey, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
That was wonderful. I mean,
Thank you
I
so
like
much.
the tunes. And if you could see me at the moment, actually, I look like just a knockout of George Michael back in like, what, 81. Hey, well, actually, thank you so much for your time and coming to the studio and also playing in the studio. Very delightful to actually have, actual musicians in this, in this kind of hour. But apparently, this is something new in Indonesian music scene, let's say stretch from 2 to 3 years back. Why 80s theme?
So why the 80s theme is because we started off as friends and we have a similar influence. We grew up in the 90s, and in the 90s there's a lot of animes in the Sundays, right?
You grew up in the 90s, but you don't look like you grew up in the 90s.
Oh, really? Are we too old?
Kid, I'm a very 90s kid, and you don't look like your 30s.
Almost, but not yet.
Actually, yeah, that was on point. Keep going on.
Yeah, and we grew up watching a lot of animes, and back then, even though it's the 90s, the animes itself has soundtracks, banger soundtracks, right, guys?
Yeah.
And the soundtrack itself is actually from the 80s, and with that influence, we actually implemented in with our music.
Yeah.
So what were the animes that you were watching?
The Sunday mornings, like
Sunday morning
animes,
yes,
right?
Definitely Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yu Yu Hakusho.
You got
Yu Yu
Hakusho is a really
Hakusho, that's
good 80s
right.
city
Yeah,
pop
yeah, right.
soundtrack. And just like, all the Maria Takeuchi stuff. And it's just city pop pure. And, that's all out 80s music. And that's what we're all about.
Does that also your hairstyle come from? Like, you look like a David Bowie.
A little bit of this and a little bit of Stranger Things. So yeah.
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Wow. But actually, we haven't known you like personally. Can you introduce yourself one by one?
Oh, all right.
I met Raveen in the makeup room.
Yeah.
And then the others.
Yeah, my name is Heston. I play keys in Vintonic.
Haston and
Ravin,
guitarist.
And I'm Nico. I'm the vocalist.
so Nico, Haston, Ravin. So Vin, Nick, Vintonic.
Vintonic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You got it right.
Vintonic. I was
You
like,
got it right.
man, I'm that old. But have you ever feel like drawn into the other eras? Like, I don't know. We grew up in the 90s. Why is it not 90s or 2000 or even 70s?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely very drawn to lots of other eras. Like, for example, Ravin listens to a lot of classical music.
Yeah.
Listen to a lot of soul music or even folk and country. But at the end of the day, when we wrote songs together, as it turns out, the 80s vibe just sort of natural to us. And it just almost like we didn't pick the 80s. It's almost like the 80s picked us.
Yes.
But what is actually the challenges to make it real? I mean, from the music or probably because if you look back to the development of music scene, even the lyrics, the choice of lyrics are actually different from the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, and also the costumes, the branding that you guys are actually portraying in the public. What is actually the main challenges that you feel like, all right, so this has got to be the one?
Well, I guess the challenge is not as an 80s, but as a musician itself. And
I mean, just as a band in general. I mean, starting a music career is not the easiest thing. So it's not necessarily about having an 80s band. It's about having a band. And all of us are going through the same kinds of challenges, whether it's in the music industry or any other entertainment industry, as we're going through this very rough pandemic situation. So it's not necessarily about the 80s challenge. It's just about the challenge we have as we go through this pandemic together.
Yes.
Yeah, because probably in a business point of view, that's actually different from point of view of making music, musicians. Because a little birdie just told me that actually two or one of you actually went to Berkeley Music.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Actually.
You, both,
Yeah, both of them.
man, what a brain! What a brain! Can you tell us how did you start to have the opportunities, or how did you go to Berkeley for music? Because usually people don't go to Berkeley for music, man.
Yeah. Well, back in high school, I already told my parents that I want to pursue music as my, not just as a hobby, but as my career. But my parents told me, you still have to go to school. And that's why I applied to Berklee College of Music. And fortunately, I got accepted. And yeah, I met Heston there.
So you guys, you and Heston are in the same year?
Yeah.
All of us
Actually,
actually
we're all
are
the
born
same
in the same year.
I see. But actually for you, Nico, what is actually the challenges that you've been facing as a vocalist? Knowing that lots of focal accents from the 80s, all the focal characters from the 80s compared to the people now in the 2000s. As we all know, the music scene at the moment, like for the vocalists, they're all about riff and runs. Right?
Yeah.
Riff and runs. And how are you actually, putting all the strategy just to be stands in the crowd?
Well, actually, first of all, I'm not that type of singer with riffs and runs because I can't do that. I can't do that kind of things. And second of all, I grew up basically with an influence of music by my mom. Like she listens to a lot of like 80s, 90s songs. And well, basically the first time I learned to sing is throughout that music because like those old kind of musics and then like how they sing, how they basically pronounce things in Indonesia or even in the Western side. So basically based on my influence.
Based on the influence. But how have people responded so far to your music?
I mean, so far it's been positive, especially from our listeners. I think we have a variety of listeners ranging from Gen Z to millennials, and of course our parents.
Parents and friends.
But at the same time, those are positive inputs. But at the same time, well, if they're not positive inputs, there wouldn't be our listeners in the first place. So if you don't like our music, please do give some input so we can work on it.
But lots of musicians came from the 80s scene. Who are your inspirations in making music?
There's a lot of inspiration from various kinds of genres, right?
And for us, eras as well. But if we're talking about 80s specifically, it's got to be Michael Jackson for me.
Michael Jackson for Heston. Ravin?
Well, talking about the local music scene back in the 80s, I would say like Krisha and Chandra Darusman.
Krisha.
They're the legend in pop creative.
Spot on, man.
That's the OG.
Spot on. How about Nico?
I think I'm gonna go with the king of city pop, Tatsuro Yamashita.
Wow, that's some OG thing.
OG thing, right.
But probably I asked Nico about you versus the vocalists in the 2000s. But as a band, how would you put yourself in the middle of modern era bands? Because currently lots of modern tunes are being favored in the industry, but not really much from the 80s. I think from the 20 years back in Indonesia we had Club 80s. But you're actually from the current generation. What is your strategy to be favored in the middle of lots of modern musicians?
If we let's say we don't have really a specific strategy, but we believe if we create good music, no matter what it is 80s or 90s or modern music.
At the end of the day, it's all about being authentic and being genuine with your music.
Being true to ourselves.
Being true to ourselves, and whichever era or genre you excel at, eventually it'll come, because at the end of the day, I believe that's what the listeners want to see, our authenticity.
If it's coming from the heart, it
Yes,
actually
exactly.
resonates.
There you go.
But if you're given a chance to collaborate with other musicians, who would that be?
Local or international?
Either one, man. Either one.
I really want to collab with The Weeknd, but I don't know if he has opened my DM.
How about you, Ravin?
Well, I'm I'm a fan of Dua Lipa, so why not? They've got the chance.
Well, we're talking about dreams here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to my answer. Tatsuro Yamashita.
Tatsuro Yamashita. So, actually, if you haven't heard the song, if you haven't heard of the band, where could we find you?
You can find us basically everywhere. Our platform name is usually Vintonic Music, but in Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and every kind of digital platforms, you can just search Vintonic.
Vintonic. So it's Vintonik or NIC?
NIC.
NIC. So Vintonic. So it's just, you know, a letter away from gin tonic. So it's Vintonic.
He gets it. He gets it.
Yeah, of course I guess it, man. Well, although my mom says alcohol is your enemy, but my God say loves your enemy. All right, everyone, we'll be back with you with other updates and probably more AT things. You wouldn't want to know. All right, don't go anywhere.